running. I'm never stopping, I'm never quitting. You know we rocking. Let's get it poppin'. You know we get it. You know we got this. We taking over till death behold us. They told us stop it, but we ain't quitting. Forever living. We running on.
What's good, everybody? C-Jack here, and welcome back to the C-Jack Reviews. I'm your host. If you're new here, anyway, hit that share, comment, subscribe button, and check out the channel, particularly the playlists. I have about 15, 16 reviews and playlists per season right now. If you're brand new to the channel, please check them out. And if you already have subscribed, please hit that join button. Hit that join button so I can bring you guys more content. The join button, basically, whatever that you feel you can donate to the channel. Help me help you, bring you more good content. All right. So enough about that. We're going to talk about the 28 Legacy Review. That's what I call it. Basically, in a nutshell, all three of these films I'm going to review under 20 minutes or less. Now, I always say that I want to do that under that time frame, but it ends up becoming longer than what it is. So if I go over a little bit, whatever, I don't think you guys will mind that. All right, so let's get this party started with the film that started us all. The 28 Days Later film that came out in 2003, I believe. Sorry, I had to think about that. I was 23 at the time. Telling my age. Shut up. This film was made in Britain, and it was done mostly like a private film. It wasn't my big indie thing that I was into at the time because I'm not a trend hopper like that. But the film presented itself really much like Resident Evil. Like, I think Resident Evil just came out before this. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. And yeah, and then the short version is, it starts off with this individual named Jim. He wakes up, no idea why, but we have a content, at least unlike The Walking Dead. We have an idea how the rage virus began from testing on monkeys, and the entire world overnight went straight to hell, much like Dusk Till Dawn, or excuse me, Dawn of the Dead, and The Walking Dead. At least The Walking Dead, it just happened. There are some zombie horror films that give you context of how the end of the world happened. And we have this person, Jim, right here, who wakes up having no idea what the entire world is doing, completely collapsed. And it was complete catastrophe from day one. He's literally in his pajama scrubs, trying to find things to eat, any answers to what happened, anybody at all that was still alive. Playing by my boy, I'm going to butcher his name, Cillian Murphy. Let me know in the comments. Anyway, great actor. Played Scarecrow and Batman in the original franchise back in 08, 07 franchise. Anyway, so he's looking for any kind of human contact whatsoever. The guy has no idea. Just imagine broad daylight, not so much as a car driving by, just complete utter chaos. And I'm thinking when I was watching this, like, well, the newspaper says the economy collapsed and everything, and he's still walking around all calm and nonchalant. I'm like, well, I'd be worried because, like, what if I don't find anybody? Everything's been ransacked. Am I stranded? Am I being attacked next? That kind of thing. So it wasn't until after he goes to this church and almost gets bitten by this priest. He survives multiple attacks. Now he's having an understanding what kind of environment that he's in right now. And his adventures brought him closer to this guy named Frank and his daughter, Hannah, who actually had refuge in one of the towers. And that was interesting standby moment for that time itself, because he was starting to bond with them. The outside chaos of the world started not to matter. They became more of a family. And then Selena was introduced later. Beautiful sister, by the way. And, they were just adapting to the new way of life. Later, these what's left of this military militia, basically made contact with them. And they're making their own rules. What happens in a basic zombie apocalypse, guys? Whole new world order. And those who have the power, might makes right, which is not a good policy to have, but it happens anyway. And so what ends up happening is, which is trippy to me, is the idea that you would think in these zombie situations, they would actually try themselves to get along, not to actually kill each other. Or in this case, the girls in the movie were held captive, by Major Henry West, Sergeant Farrell, Corporal Mitchell, I believe, and I forgot the other one. Anyway, these guys were basically trying to hold their own and live in a base apocalyptic time. And it didn't work out. Selena told Jim in this film, which stuck out to me, "You hesitate, you die. I'll kill you in a split second."
That was longer than a heartbeat.
And later down the road, Jim became more of the hero at the tail end of the movie, and the military were at his mercy. Awesome way to end the film. And it ends with more of the infected going towards France, sabotaging everybody, that kind of thing. It continues. Now, we're fast forwarding into 28 weeks later, which Jeremy Renner was in. And I think they broke the bank on this. This is my personal favorite version of the movie. Don't get me wrong. The first movie was amazing in itself, and it needed to happen. But it just didn't push the envelope. No, I'm lying to you. It pushed the envelope as expected. So it gives you this narration that, okay, the rage virus victims, like the zombies or whatever you call them, the Rageanites, whatever, they died out. They starved them out. They left mainland England alone for up to like 15 weeks or whatever the math is. And now they want to come back, which is realistic. Everything's been contained, construction, and now they're bringing people back into the fold from this environment, which thus 28 weeks later. So we start off with a nervous situation that a lot of people are like, okay, I didn't know we were admitting children back here now, which I'm against because of the simple factor, like, dude, even though this just ended, we don't have all the answers yet. And before we get to that, this starts off already messed up. This guy named Don, biggest piece of cowardly shit of all time. Unless you're in that situation, I know you guys are saying this, well, CJ, you know this in hindsight, you're not in the situation. If you truly love somebody, you're willing to do whatever you can to make sure that loved one is okay, but whatever. So they're on the island, or they're in this area, in Britain, and they rescue this kid. At least they tried to rescue the kid. And, obviously, Don decides to let his wife die in a horrible, horrible death by leaving her and the rest of the constituents in this house to die. They get bitten. And another thing I want to point out about this franchise, you don't even have to get bitten. Just like in the last movie, I forgot to cover that. Even kissing, we'll get to that, even a slight drop of blood, which makes sense, into any open orifice, you are contaminated and you become one of those rage viruses. Anyway, we have the legendary run in the scene where those things are coming out of nowhere, just trying to kill you. Even Boondocks made a clip of this.
So you already done shots while the fish hot, so you jumped the gun.
This reference, which is fucking hilarious, by the way. You need to check out the episode. And coming back to what this original movie was about, Don and his Weasley butt somehow survives this attack, and he comes back to mainland England. And Tammy and his son, and Tammy and her brother wants to know the truth what happened to their mom. Don says she died. They find out the truth that, dude, bruh, you left her to die. And, she was still alive. Not only she was alive, but she was the original person that was immune to the infected, which I thought they were going to touch on this again in part 3, because I did a recap of both movies before I went to go see part 3. Anyway, they basically lose containment. Ryan is basically the savior of the movie, finding out that Don's son has the gene to make sure that for the cure behind the whole T virus, that's somebody else's franchise, the whole rage virus thing. And they're forced to pick off these people. And it's amazing how it spreads. Don kisses his wife that was in the restraining chair. It's whatever. I don't think they divorced, right? Well, then technically they verbally, I want nothing to do with it. He gets in out of guilt, whatever. And I don't know why he didn't think this through. It's insane to me. And remember, just a kiss. She had the worst brutal death. Not only did her husband leave her once to die, now she's dying by his own hand. I was like, bruh. So he breaks out, starts biting the soldiers. 1 infected turns into 3. You know how this stuff works. 3 turns into 6. Wow, 6. And then 6 turns into 20. You know how it spread. They're taking shots, picking off anybody at all that looks infected. And on this eerie comment by one of the snipers on the tower says, I can't tell who's not infected anymore. We lost containment, open shots, you know. And the movie had a pretty good a franchise of people that was in it. General Stone, Idris Elba. There was all kinds of celebrities in the movie. They picked up the budget pretty good, which I had high hopes for. And now we're talking about in part 3. And there was an all-star cast. You know, Jimmy Renner was in this, Idris Elba, my boy Harold, Harold Pernouli. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name, sir. Very hard to pronounce. He was basically in Oz. No, not the Wizard of Oz, the prison movie. The guy in the wheelchair, great actor. Anyway, so, and he was also in another zombie series, by the way. If you check that out, it was a kind of a comedy version of it called Z Nation. He made an appearance in that. Check that out. So he dies horribly trying to help the kids get to safety, and they do. That's, you know, basically the end. So now we are here at part 3. Part 3, if you have not watched part 3, spoiler alert. Part 3, I was very, very actually disappointed in. I knew there's some, okay, let's start with the stuff that I did like. I did like that the infected, that they called them the infected became more feral. They actually had an alpha male, which, you know what I'm saying, they mutated. They had the blobs, which is really slow. They had the alpha males, which is these literal NBA tall and powerful, you know, 7-foot Jesus motherfuckers that, you know, that commanded the rest of the pharaohs. The infected. In fact, they gotten feral. They don't even have clothes anymore, which makes sense. That's a positive to me. I'm with that. And the alpha males, they were more than just powerful. Let's just say they had more than 28 inches going on. There was a lot of 28s in this. Anyway, I'm not saying that. There was a bunch of scenes where this guy's dick is just swinging. Bruh, but then again, like I said before, they're feral. Anyway, so and 28 years later, it has an all-star cast as well with Ralph Fiennes, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and Jodie Comer. You know, I've not seen her in anything in a while. Correct me if I'm wrong, but she was in a few things with HBO for a while. Anyway, so whole new family, whole new dynamic. You know, the game has changed. The world is completely in collapse, more infected more than ever. You know, it's 28 years later, all right? And so they're in this small island. Again, I think this film, what I do like about it is that they went back to the original production roots. My biggest fear was the fact that they were going to go above and beyond what they did in 28 Weeks Later. Because if you notice, the film quality changed from part 1 to part 2, and this one, they went back to the original. I dig that. So they're on this little island where the tide comes in. You can't walk it because the water will wash you away. Pretty clever. And basically, now we're living back in like Game of Thrones kind of stuff. You know, technologies of a thing of the past. Idealisms are more of a common thing versus military. But there are small pockets. Like there was a military people with, you know, modern gear with machine guns patrolling the islands being isolated. Now, at the point of the movie, there was a reference made by one of the officers, played by Eric Sodokins, whatever. He was one of the people that was in the movie that told Spike, which this movie is really about, this young kid trying to find a cure for his mother's medical issue, which, spoiler alerts, we find out is cancer. They have no way of detecting it, which Dr. Ian Kelston is going to figure out, because his father, Jamie, never told him that the doctor was still alive. But Spike, being young kid, 12 years old, of age, by the way, no, I want to find out this guy for myself. I want a cure for my mom. And still pissed off of his dad for it, so he leaves the whole island. Anyway, Spike comes of age, and he now has his time as a hunter, because society has there's rules of the society, as you see here. And basically, as do you want to be a hunter? Do you want to make clothes? Do you want to, you know what I'm saying, be a builder, whatever. So he decides to be a hunter with his old man, and they go to the mainland, which is dangerous, and he makes his first couple of kills. So he discovers about this doctor right away. So Spike leaves with his mom, goes outside of the community, which this movie is really about, looking desperately for this doctor with no map or no hope of a dream, trying to find this man. Goes on an adventure. Now, back to the military people. So in a nutshell, Spike is fighting off the infected, basically with minimum training, and this kid named Eric comes and saves them. Like, well, we're trying to find this doctor. He's like, okay, well, do you know what he looks like? No. Do you know where he lives? No. Don't tell me you're just out here. Basically, in a nutshell, yeah, on a whim. They find the doctor by some miracle. Now, the stuff I don't like continues. So I expected at least more of those things getting through, more maybe catastrophe happening. I don't know. This is a little more quieter, maybe. It's not that I just didn't like the film and it wasn't just a masterpiece, but it's just something was missing to me to make it like it more. Maybe they toned it down because they weren't trying to, like 28 weeks later, how are you supposed to, exceed that? Maybe they toned the film down. I don't know. Let me know in the comments how you feel about it. So basically, it's a little calmer, but again, the positives. There's a lot more vibrant colors. Like when the mom was walking through the grass field, the daisies, the colors, the sunshine, excuse me. Everything was cool. Oh, past the 20-minute mark. Anyway, so wrapping it up, they find the doctor. And he's a complete crackpot, but he still keeps his practice. The idea was to find out if she has cancer. So he gives her a physical test. Everything is under the sun, short of what he could tell without using an MRI. Sorry, your mother probably has a cancer. I don't know whether it's brain cancer or it's in her organs, but she is going to die. And so he has this eerie collection of skulls, which is badass, but eerie at the same time. And tells Spike I'm going to murder your mother, and you place her skull on the very top, any place on the pyramid of skulls. And Spike obviously climbs up to the top, put her mom on top, whatever. Me personally, that's not realistic. You're not just going to off my mom despite her dying. You know what I mean? There's no such thing as a mercy death, but just polish her off like an apple and put her on a stack of apples. I just don't see myself doing that. Or maybe be like a child. I don't know. Maybe he's just young. Anyway, that's basically it. The movie ends, and Spike gets rescued out of this left field of these lunatics that come out of nowhere. They kill the infected in their own weird way, setting up for a possible series continuation. My biggest beef with this movie was the title itself. It should have been 28 months later, not 28 years, because it saves no room for the imagination where to go next. If they were going to continue the movie, here's my biggest gripe. Don't tell me, I'm thinking this is the end of the franchise. Personally, I don't think so. Don't tell me it's going to be 28 years later. What's next, 28 decades? The planet will be completely, Babar the Barbarian by then. You know what I'm saying? Like in the year 2005, the world's collapsed, whatever. Or was it 99? I don't know, tell my age. But tell me what your thoughts are. And this is me doing this under 20 minutes or less. Hit that share, comment, subscribe button. Then check out these shows. As usual, talk to you later. Peace.